What is good, YouTube? What is good, PlayStation Nation? It is your boy Persona of Gaming with Persona, host of When Persona Speaks, host of When Persona Interviews, and one half of the host of What's Up PlayStation Podcast. Every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. And I got to start the show off with this. Hold on. Is it going to work for me? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, PlayStation Nation. Oh, yes. It's old school. It's old school. Some of y'all might not know that. Go do your Googles. But yo, listen, this is another episode of When Persona Interviews, number 12, and we are climbing up in the episodes, man. And, with each episode, it gets better and better. The guests get better and better and better, and we're going to keep growing. For those that don't know, When Persona Interviews is a mini-series that I do here on my channel, bi-weekly, sometimes weekly, depending on depending on the guest. And, essentially, it's me sitting down with someone within the community. It could be someone in the industry, somebody, another YouTuber, whatever, and just sitting down talking games, asking them different questions, having a conversation. Might be a little debate depending on how, but it's open for everybody, right? Like, it's not just for PlayStation people, it's for any and everybody. Because I'm interested in how others think and feel when it comes to gaming. I really am legit interested. And so this week, man, we have a very, very special guest. This has been a long time coming. I am so glad that I'm able to get him on the show. And I know a lot of you guys in the chat can't wait to ask your questions of this individual. He does a show called The Throwdown. He got his own Twitter. You guys may know him by Rudimeth or Tony Polanco. Tony, say what's up to the people.
Yo, what's going on? By the way, I got a little distracted. I'm like, what the fuck did you say my Twitter name was?
It's Rumodeth, right?
Nope.
I said it wrong. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Romudeth.
Romudeth. Why did I say
yeah.
Romudeth?
There you go. Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? But I gotta bust your chops a little bit. But Persona, man, yo. Okay, you and we've been following each other on Twitter for years. You're always a good dude. So when you asked me to be on, I didn't even hesitate. I'm like, let's fucking do this, man. We synced up our schedules, and you're from New York too. I had to be on this show, man.
Definitely.
So the way I see it, it's my honor to be on here with you, bro.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. For guys in the chat, I want to put this out there before we even get into anything. I am going to ask you guys to put your questions in the chat if you have questions. The only thing I ask is this: be respectful. Be respectful. If you guys want me to get other people on the show that have very different opinions from me or from you or from whoever, you guys got to be respectful in the chat. All right. So, you guys can ask your questions and we'll have a segment for that. All I ask is that you be respectful. That's all I'm asking. All right. With that being said, Tony, man, I want to start off. See, it's New York boys out here, and I love it. A couple weeks ago, I had J-Main on, and J-Main's from New York as well. Shout out to J-Main. By
the way, just real quick, man, J-Main, he's from New York, but not really from New York. He's from like upstate or something.
Well, no, he grew up in Harlem, though. He grew up in Harlem.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
He
lives
legit.
upstate. Yeah, he lives upstate, but he grew up in Harlem.
I always gave him a little bit of flack for that. But if my man grew up in Harlem, then he's legit. J-Main, you good, bro? You good?
Listen, I'm giving J-Main flack because he don't like cheese. I was like, he's like, when he ordered cheese pizza, he ordered it without cheese, just the sauce and the dough. And I'm like, what? So that's where J-Main, especially being from New York, you can't disrespect the New York pizza, man. But what makes this even more special with you is you from Queens.
Yes, sir.
Queens. So Queens boys is in the building. You feel me? And I love it. So I want to start off with I'm assuming you grew up in Queens.
Well, I've been here most of my life, but I actually didn't grow up in Queens. And I know the way you do things is you do the gaming origin story, right? Because my gaming origin story is also tied with my origin. You know what I'm saying? So I was born in the Dominican Republic in 1980, right?
Okay.
And for the first 7 years of my life, I lived in the Dominican Republic. I had no idea what video games were, bro. No idea whatsoever, right? We moved to America in 1987. And like about a year later, one day I was hanging out with my dad at one of his friends' bodegas, right? Just chilling, And I see this big, I'm describing it the way my little young mind did, experienced it, right? I see this big box with like buttons and a stick and a TV inside of it with these little characters running around. I'm like, what the fuck is that? And his friend was like, yo, that's the game. And I'm like, video game? Like, what's the video game? Gives him a bunch of quarters. And I'm like, what am I going to do with these? Like, you pop them into that red slot and you play. I'm like, okay. Go to it's an arcade for those who don't know. But some motherfuckers may be too young for this shit. So I go there. By the way, I'm glad I could curse on the show. I didn't have to ask you that shit. Because I'm sure I'd be on there, because you're not cursed. That's very difficult for me. I'm Dominican and New Yorker, bro. You already know.
No, listen.
Yeah.
On this forum, it's I don't want to constrict people to code switch, for lack of a better term, right? Speak how you feel, man. You're free to speak how you want here.
Yeah. So anyway, I popped in these quarters, and bro, okay, I don't like believe in destiny or a god or any of that other stuff, right? But something came down from another plane of existence and told me what to do, man. It's like I instantly knew what to do. Popped in those quarters, press start, started playing. First game I ever played in my life, Golden Axe, bro, on the arcade. Ooh, it was like I discovered something that was a part of me that was missing, and I'm just a little fucking kid, So
how old were you? You were like what, 8, 9?
I was 8 years old at this time.
Okay.
And after that, it was like my whole world just opened. Started visiting cousins. They had the Nintendo was the main system back then. Not Super Nintendo, the Nintendo Entertainment System. And my mom, she got me a Game Boy. Right, started playing out Tetris all day, every day. And then soon she got me my own Nintendo. And this is back in the day. My parents and shit didn't have money like that, so they would buy me maybe 1 or 2 games a year, but most of the time either I would borrow games from friends or mostly rent them from Blockbuster, which was a couple blocks down, right? So I rented a bunch of shit, and that started my passion for gaming. Obviously upgraded to the Super Nintendo. That was till this day, bro. I was like 11 when I got that shit, because it came out in 1991. I got it that Christmas. That is still one of the happiest times of my life, man. I got that fucking Super Nintendo, bro. Super Mario World. That was the first time I broke night. I stayed up all night playing that shit. Yeah. I was hooked, because I'm coming off of Super Mario Brothers 3, which that to me was like the greatest game of all time. And then Super Mario World comes and blows it out the water. So that's where the origin started. And then obviously, that led to the Sega Genesis, 32X, Sega CD, Sega Saturn, fucking Dreamcast, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox. Just went all in. Skipped all that. I skipped Nintendo though. After Super Nintendo, bro, I was done. I'm like, all right, man, there's some kiddie shit right now, man. I want some real shit. So that's like where all that shit started, man. And gaming's always been a big part of my life since 1987, man. So your boy is a veteran, and yes, I've been living in New York, in Queens, since 1987 as well. So that's where this accent comes from.
Definitely, man. That kind of, in terms of like, because my first system was the Super Nintendo. So like, when my grandmother came in with the Super Nintendo and like some games and stuff like that, I was definitely like really excited, jumping up and down. Oh my god! So like I get that feeling quite a bit. So I think, I guess a question I want to ask, and kind of because I actually didn't know that you were born in DR and then you came to America. So that's pretty interesting. So I guess the question I want to ask is, being coming to a new place and being I don't want to call it a fish out of water, but like just where you come from and where it is, I'm assuming it wasn't it's super different, but being in a new place is always scary, right? So when you found gaming, and you really started playing games, and gaming became a part of your life, did you find that gaming was easier for you to kind of cope with growing up in New York? Because, like, listen, 80s, 90s, like, growing up in New York is definitely a feat, because, you know, a lot of crazy things has happened, especially, you know, being a Queens boy, a lot of crazy things, especially where I live. So gaming was definitely one of those things. So for you, was gaming something that really helped you escape that, the life, and really help you with growing up in New York?
Yeah, I mean, when I came to America again, I was 7, and up until then, you know, I'm talking about, you know, young Tony. My biggest dream was coming to America, because remember, you know, even though I'm from another country, what am I doing all day? I'm watching American shows, right? And I'm seeing specifically New York City, right? I'm like, yo, look at this fucking place. This is amazing, right? And I remember my dad bought me, like, you know, those little snow cones and shit. And it was little New York inside, right? And you shake it, it starts snowing. I'm like, yo, I want to live in the city where it snows. I'm like, that's where I gotta be in my life, man. So coming to America, that was easy, you know. And you know how I learned English? It's funny because we came here in June, right, 1987, and by September I was in school, right? I was already fluent in English, right, just by watching cartoons. So I just watched cartoons all fucking day and learned the language that way. So it was very easy. So I didn't really feel like a fish out of water. And then as far as the harshness of New York goes, again, Dominican Republic is fucked up. I'm just being real. It was a fucked up country back then, you know? And this is something a lot of people don't know about me, right? Because I don't really talk about it so much, but I don't hide it. I'm in a wheelchair, right? I got polio when I was 6 months old and shit. I had a twin brother too. He died because of it. So I learned very early on, right? Life is fucking brutal, but if you let it get to you, you know, it'll crush you. So I've always been a fighter my whole life. You know what I'm saying? Even though my mom told me this very early. My mom, she was like, listen, Tony, I know there's some things you can't physically do, but there's a lot you can do. So whatever you can do, I'm not going to do it for you, because I'm not going to race a fucking pussy. I'm so glad she told me that shit.
She said to you, and that, like, just like that?
Just like that. Yeah, just like that. It was like 4 or 5. She told me that shit.
Okay.
You know, Dominican moms don't play, bro.
Yeah.
My mom is harsh, man. But, you know, I'm glad that she treated me that way, because it made me who I am right now. That's why, you know, when I'm on Twitter and shit, motherfuckers always attacking me. That shit right off my back. I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? That shit can't hurt me. It can't hurt me more than the shit that life has already done. And that hasn't beaten me down. So you think some fucking comments are going to, you know, like, make me feel bad? Fuck out of here, man. And also, again, being in New York, you know,
the way you said fuck out of here, that was very New York. Like,
hey, listen, bro, I keep it real, man. That's all it is, man. But you know, go up in the 80s, the show's fucked up. And then, you know, most of my young life, I lived in the fucking projects, right? Motherfuckers gang banging and shit, but I wasn't about that life. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I understand, right? You see the videos, motherfuckers got bitches and money and cars, and you want that, but it's like, do you really want to put yourself through that type of, you know, experience just to get that shit? Yo, and I'm gonna tell you a quick story, not to, you know, get off too much off topic. This happened the other fucking day, bro, at the beginning of the week. So I'm just going about my daily stroll and shit, you know, because I work from home most of the time. I want to get out and do whatever, right? So I see this one cat. I hadn't seen this motherfucker for like 10 years, right? I'm like, yo, I'm not gonna give his name, but I was like, yo, what's up, bro? And I was like, yo, where you been? He's like, yeah, you know, man, I've been in and out of jail and shit. You know, I did a stint a couple weeks ago. It just came out. And the casualness of how he said that shit, you know, and this wasn't the first time I've heard that, obviously. I've heard that many, many times in my life, like motherfuckers going to jail and just brushing off like it's nothing. Yet it's funny when he asked me what I was up to, and I told him, yeah, I'm a game journalist. I go to events and shit all over the country, get free games. He looked at me like I was crazy. I'm like, motherfucker, you're the one that's been in jail, bro. You looking at me like, get the fuck out of here, you know?
I'm glad you brought that up, because that actually brings me to my next question. Is you know, journalism, game journalism, because, you know, you've definitely been to, you know, E3s and PAXs and all these different events, man. You know, I guess I want to know, like, how did you get here? Like, how did Tony get here in terms of journalism and going to E3s and things like that? Like, where's your roots with this?
All right, so I guess you could say the roots started in 2000. I don't know. I was going to say 2008, but it's a little bit before that, right? So somewhere around the mid 2000s, whenever the hell blogging became like a real big thing, right? Around that time, the end of 2000s, right? My friend Emilio Lopez, who's also my co-host on Throwdown and who's been my friend since 1993. So, and you know, we're the same age. We grew up together and everything, right? That's my motherfucking dude right there, right? So he was always talking like, yo, Tony, man, you finish games so fast all the time. Like, you should write about games. You should review games on a blog. And I'm like, and at that point, I'm like, yo, that's mad corny, man. Who's going to do that type of shit? You know, going on the internet and just talking about games. That's dumb, you know? Not games are dumb, but I just didn't, I didn't like the idea of like just going on the internet to voice your opinion, which is funny because look at it now. That all I fucking do all day is be on Twitter talking shit, you know. But back then, it was like I'm like that's stupid. I don't want to do that, right? But he kept going and going and going, tell me about this shit, and then around you know, let me just go back a little bit before I get to the main thing. So around 2008, after I got my PlayStation 3, I didn't get the PS3 launch. It was mad expensive and shit, no games. So I got it in early 2008, and you know, I got Ratchet and Clank, whatever Ratchet and Clank, the new one was at that point, Uncharted and Assassin's Creed, right? Blown away. And I wanted to know more about these games. So I started going to different websites and stuff. This was also around the time when I finally got high-speed internet because I just had cable modem at that point. Again, you know, didn't have money back in the day, right? And I started noticing, you know, a bunch of gaming sites, you know, IGNs, GameSpots, all that. I knew about all those sites already, right? But then I learned about this other site called N4G. They're still around too. You guys already know about N4G, infamous fucking site. And through there, I learned about a couple characters, right? First one that kept popping up every week. I'm like, yo, what is this dude about? But he's also from Queens too. Now, I mean, he's from Brooklyn originally, but he's from Queens now. Hip hop gamer, right? And at first I'm like, yo, what is this dude? I don't understand this shit. Like, is this a joke? What's going on? You know? But I noticed that, like, even though his like, he acted over the top, he was being mad real, right? I'm like, oh, I've never seen that in journalism, you know? And also, it was also the point where the PS3 was getting shitted on by everybody, right? And he was like the only dude defending it. So I'm like, okay, I like this guy, man. This is some good shit. So I started following Hip Hop Gamer. And then because of him, he did this roundtable. The website doesn't exist anymore, a Pixel Enemy. So it was kind of like a CNN for gaming and shit. And it was Hip Hop Gamer and this big dude, right, called Torrance Davis, right? And they were debating about something.
I've had run-ins with that guy.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm looking at so I'm watching this and I'm like, oh shit, like this dude Torrance, he's talking about old school Sega, which is my first love and shit. Like, and I'm like, yo, this is cool. And then I follow he had this podcast called The War Zone. Back in, you know, and he started in 2007. I started listening in 2008, and it was just the rawest fucking thing ever. You know, I hadn't heard gaming being covered that way, and I'm just being honest right now, covered by us. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, this is fucking dope. You know, and then through them, I learned about this other site called Dual Shockers. Right? Come to find out, at that point, the main guys who were running the site were Dominicans. I'm like, oh shit. You know, so I listened to the Warzone, the Shockcast, and the Hip Hop Gamer Show religiously every single week, nonstop, right? And in 2010, a little bit before New York Comic Con of that year, my friend Emilio, again, he's like, yo, I'm thinking about starting a gaming blog. You want to do it with me? And I'm thinking, okay, one asshole doing this by himself, that I don't know about that, but two assholes, okay, sure, let's give this a shot. You know? So we had our boy Chris Seeley, he's also on Throwdown. He started setting up the site for us, and at that point, Dual Shockers, they open up their fan forums and they're like, hey, you guys want to write reviews for us? Give it a shot. I'm like, fuck it, because I've always been a writer and shit. I've always enjoyed writing. I'm like, give it a shot. So I reviewed let's see if people remember this game, Enslaved Odyssey to the West for the PlayStation 3. Ninja Theory, you know. So I reviewed it, posted it on there on the forums, and the editor-in-chief, he was like, yo, this is dope, keep at it, right? And then around that same point, around New York Comic Con, literally 2 days before, you know, the next point happened, I ran into Hip Hop Gamer on the show floor of New York Comic Con. Remember, I've been a fan of this guy for years already, like 2 years. So when I saw him, I don't get starstruck. Like, I got starstruck, right? And this dude, and he proved his character to me. He came up to me, he gave me his fucking belt, put it around my shoulder, spun it and shit. I introduced me to his entourage, like, yo, this dude is mad cool. And then 2 days after that, me and Emilio, we launched Cool Stuff, the blog. It was basically just a blog where we talked about whatever we wanted to, but it was mostly focused on games. I started writing about every single game I had played, and I really enjoyed it. And I tried to write in a style that was reminiscent of the gaming magazines I used to read back when I was a kid. EGM, Game Informer, all those sites, right? Game Fan. I'm pretty sure you guys in the chat right now. I'm not even looking at the chat right now, but I know those guys in the chat. You guys remember all those old school magazines. So I started doing that, and then eventually we brought on Chris. He joined us. Then Adam. All these guys are on Throwdown right now, right? And we started doing this for like a good year and a half. Even when E3 came around, we're just I call these people, and this not being a derogatory, civilian gaming journalists. That's what I was back then, like a civilian gaming journalist. And
what's that?
Like a casual. This is just my fun name. That's just my name for it. Like a that kind of like I call them civilian podcasters and shit, like dudes who aren't affiliated with the industry, but who make the industry run because of the passion, right? So I was just a regular dude. So we covered E3, even though we had like 2 fucking visitors a day, but we kept at it and it was fun. And then in 2011, I believe it was, Torrance Davis, right? He was shutting down the Bitbag, where he hosted the Warzone, and he was like, I'm going to start a new site. It's called Shut the Fuck Up and Play. Because even back then, he had this thing. It's like, yo, why the fuck are gamers always on Twitter complaining? Why don't they play the fucking games? It's funny, 10 years later, it's the same thing's happening, So I was like, yo, I've written like...
Well, it's a little different now, though, because...
yeah, it is.
You've got, people complaining, but aren't completing or buying or completing games. So it's a lot of fake outrage. So yeah, I get that.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. So yeah, so I had like over 200 reviews written out there. I went in, son, So I sent a few of them to Torrance, and he already knew I was a fan of the Bitbag. So I sent him an email with the links, and he replied. He was pissed. He was like, "Motherfucker, why didn't you tell me you wrote? I would have had you on the Bitbag years ago." So things didn't take off right away, but the SCFU Play, we launched in June of 2012, excuse me, and I covered E3 for Torrance. I didn't go to E3 because the site just started, so we weren't eligible to go. And that's when I started getting the real taste of it. And I was like, because I never really considered it. I was just like, I'm just writing about games for fun, but writing for a website, because Torrance, he'd already been in this industry since 1995, went to the first E3 and everything. I was like, this could be a career path for me. Never considered it, but I'm like, this is viable. I started going to events. The first event I went to was an EA event in the city, a bunch at Comic-Con.
EA, oh no.
Yeah. And started making industry contacts and stuff. And then all these people I had been talking to on Twitter for years, and started meeting them in real life, And then the following year, 2013, I went to my first E3 and shit. It was fucking dope. The E3 experience was dope. The LA experience was fucking terrible. LA's a shitty fucking city. Still is. Oh, wow.
The way it looked back then, because when I was around that time, 2013, 2014, maybe between 2014, 2015, I wanted to I was interested in making this like a career type of thing. And I don't know, I kind of fell off, but what kind of had me really hyped to want to go to the events and stuff like that. What part of it was E3. E3 was seeing all those games, seeing those events, all those different things on a computer screen. It really, I was definitely one of those. I was like, damn, man, I would like to be there. So having the PlayStation experiences, when those started up, I was like, I'm gonna go to those, because with E3s, I wanted to be media, some press shit. I'm sitting in the I'm from what I hear, y'all have these little parties and all this other stuff. But I wanted to be media. I wasn't, and that's when it wasn't opened up. And so when PlayStation Experience started opening up, and really was getting gamers to come through and play games and experience stuff and all that stuff. That's when I had got the taste of it, and I was like, yo, this is dope. Like this is really fun. So and that's part of what I'm kind of mad that PlayStation had stopped that, but that's how it was with me. It was really with the E3s and stuff like that made me like really want to be like, yo, that's where I want to go to one of those. That's like a bucket list type of thing. You get what I mean?
Yeah. Oh no, that was a bucket list for me because you got to understand. Like I read about E3 for years, right? I remember reading about the first one in 1995 in EGM, and I was like, oh shit, look at this place, Mm-hmm. And I always had this dream. I'm like, somehow, some way, I'm gonna get to E3, and then it's funny because I eventually ended up going to 6 E3s in a row, and it then became routine. So something I had dreamed about but a good chunk of my life just became a routine where it's just like, gotta go to E3 again.
So then let me ask you then, because you've been to a lot of them, and I'm sure you've seen them grow and seen how things or diminish or whatever the case may be. When you look at the state of how E3 is now, and I'm talking like pre-pandemic stuff. Even now, right? When you see the state of E3 now, like, what are your thoughts from like the journalist industry side? Because you've been involved in that a lot more than what most people. Because for me, E3 used to be, I used to call it gamers' Christmas, because you get to see all these great games, all these things like that. But then, that kind of started to diminish quite a bit when Nintendo left, when realistically, when PlayStation left, I'm like, all right, there's really no need. Like, I don't really care about this at that level anymore, because the highlight for me personally has always been PlayStation at E3. So, from your perspective, seeing E3 diminish and really not be something that's significantly needed anymore, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, you're right about that. And, that's something I've talked about extensively on the podcast and on Twitter, because when I first started going to E3 2013, right? From 2013 to 2017, right? It was just the media. There were some fans in there, but you had to pay a lot of money to get in, right?
Them tickets like $1,000, man. Trust me, I know.
Yeah. So the first years were great. I remember my first E3, and I'm going to tie this all together, right? My first E3, I had absolutely no appointments whatsoever, right? All I did was I went to booths that interested me, told them I was media, play the games, write about them. Yo, that first E3, I cranked out like 40 fucking stories, bro. I went in, So it was cool going to that E3, being around other game journalists, meeting, these game developers, because they're just walking around the stage show like, the show floor like nothing, So I got to meet a lot of people, man. We could do a whole 3-hour podcast alone on the E3 experiences, right? So the first 4 years, it was great. And this was always the routine, right? I'd fly into LA on a Sunday, right? Do my thing. Then Friday on Sunday, go to the LA Convention Center, get my press badge. Then on Monday, it was wake up in the morning, go to Microsoft, then walk across the street, go to EA, then take a shuttle to Ubisoft, come back and watch Sony, which is I'm just being real right now. I'm a Sony guy, so that was the shit I was waiting for the whole day, right? And that was the routine for years. And then Thursday, Tuesday through Thursday was the main show, right? And then things started shifting around. EA, they started doing their own thing, right? Eventually, Microsoft started doing its own thing. Sony started doing its own thing. And everything just started getting dispersed. So whereas I had to come in on a Sunday and, basically my week started on a Monday, right? Now it started on a Friday because all these shows were just getting dispersed and shit. So by the time actual E3 came up, I was like, yo, I'm ready to go home. What the fuck? So I think, and I'm not trying to sound like an asshole right now, but I'm just being real. Having fans at E3 fucked the whole thing up, right? Because
I agree. I think it might have. I think it might have done that too. Like because it's too many lines. There's too many people.
Yeah, there were no lines before. Like when it was just game journals, everybody had even if you weren't. If you had an appointment, you weren't waiting on lines. You had it was like your Comic-Con, which is dudes rushing the fucking stage, right? Trying to get to all these stems. And I'm thinking, okay, at that point, I was already at a point where I had my appointments, I was good to go, but I couldn't help thinking this, right? Because I don't just think about myself, man. I think about the legacy, right? Like, if you were a gaming journalist the way I was in 2013, now going to E3, you couldn't make it anywhere. You can't. It's impossible. You cannot meet these developers. You can't play these games because all these fucking fans, you know? So what ESA needs to do is copy what Tokyo Game Show does. Copy what the German show, I'm getting the name of it. You guys in the chat will let me know. Gamescom. What they do is they have separate days for fans and journalists. That way everybody wins, right? I get, if I was there, I get to do my fucking job, do my thing, cover the games for you guys, and then the fans go ham. That's the way it should be. But mixing them all together like that, no. It's mess. Huge fucking mess. And I'll tell you this right now. I went to E3 6 years in a row, right? And I purposely didn't go to 2019. I was like, Sony's not here. What the fuck's the point? I didn't see it, and then I come to find out that was the wackest E3, and then 2020 didn't happen, obviously. But I don't know, man. It's sad.
To stay in the realm of journalists, because this is a question I definitely want to ask you, and I want to get your thoughts. So in terms of journalists and journalism and all that whole games media spiel, what's your thoughts on reviewers reviewing games without completing them?
You have to. I've done it plenty of times. You have no choice sometimes, man. Like if you have 5 games to review, you have to. Like you have, dude. Think about this, and you guys understand because his thing. I was on the other side. I was like, no, you have to complete them. Sometimes you can't. If you have 5 games, you got to review, and they're due that month. You ain't finishing them all. It's impossible. So this is what I personally do, right? I play a game up to a point where I feel comfortable that my opinion is valid, because let's just be real here. Most games, all you really need is about like 5 hours. I'm talking about in general, because some games you only need an hour, some games you need 20, some games you need more. But in general, I play up to a point where I feel comfortable enough to speak on it to get that review out. Because
wait hold on, wait, totally. So you're telling me that you'll do reviews on a game and not have completed them?
Yeah, you have to do it. There's no choice.
But okay, now let me throw a scenario at you. Say the beginning of a game, it's not that, the first 5 hours, right? First 5 hours of the game is not that, or first 3 hours, 3, 5, whatever. The first couple hours of the game is not good, but then it gets to the middle or it starts picking up more, and it picks up in it. Because I've played games like that, like RPGs or whatever, where the beginning is slow.
RPGs are a different story. I personally, if it's a JRPG, I need to put at least 40 hours into that shit. If I don't have a solid input after 40 hours, then I'm not doing a good job. You know what I'm saying?
I get that, but what I'm saying is, if a game, so like put yourself in the shoes of the game, of like just a reader or whatever. Wouldn't you, if you were looking at articles and the guy says, oh, I haven't completed the game completely, but I put X amount of hours into it, and this is my thoughts. What do you think? That's okay? You think that's fine?
Yeah, it's fine. He's being upfront. I'm upfront about it. That's perfectly fine. Again, I understand. You cannot review all these games in a time. Like, there's a lot of games you got to review. You got to get them out there. You have to hit those embargoes. You got to hit the deadlines and shit. You can't just be you tell your editor, fuck that. I need to complete the whole thing. That's stupid. That's not.
So let me ask you a question. Why not pace yourself? And what I mean by that is, maybe do like. So, matter of fact, let me ask this: on average, how many games would you say that you get in for review, for you to play and review a month?
A month. Things are different now. Things are different now because of the Rona, and I'm actually in a.
All right, so let's do pre-coronavirus. Pre-COVID,
yeah.
Like how many games would you get for review in a month?
Ooh, the most I've gotten is probably like 5. And think about it; those need to get done. You can't just be like, "Nope, I'm taking my time." They got to get done. The people who send you those game reviews, the publishers, they expect those reviews to be posted. Your editor expects those reviews up. And if there are 5 big games coming out that month, you got to review them. That's it.
But are you the only? So are
You
you
know?
the only one? Are you the only one reviewing these games?
No. It's again. That's how many I've gotten at one point. But I'm in a place right now where I don't. I literally just pick whatever game I want right now. I'm not at that point anymore. But I'm trying to get you guys to understand because I know I'm just gonna say it right now, and I'm gonna piss off some people in the chat. I don't give a fuck. Keeping it real. It's ignorant to say that type of shit where you're like, oh, you need to review the entire game. Like, dude, that's impossible in some cases, man. Like, if there's a game, if games come out, like, if you have 4 big games that come out in a single month, you are not realistically going to be able to finish all of them. That's just the way it is. That's why you need to get to a point where you feel comfortable enough to put them out and be upfront with your readers. Yo, this is based on X amount of hours because you got to get those things out. That's just how it is, you know? So, it's like, I understand the mentality behind it and shit, but realistically, you cannot, like, as a game reviewer, review all these games, especially during busy times. Right now, it's easy because no fucking games are coming out, but when shit gets real, you just got to do it, man. You it's either that or lose your fucking job, you know?
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, Tony. I hear what you're saying, but me personally, I can't agree with that. And again, I'm not in your shoes or journalists' shoes that I'm getting 20 or 30 games that I have to review, like that are meant to review. But I don't know. I just feel like for me personally, and this is something that I've talked about on my channel a lot of times. And this is no disrespect to you or games media. This is just this is my opinion. But this is why I tell gamers, reviews, you shouldn't use a review to determine your purchase, right? Because you're right, you've got all these different games, you got a lot of things that you're juggling, so you can't get to everything at once. That's cool. I'm not gonna get at you at that, but this is why I tell gamers, your opinion is what matters most. Your experience is what matters most, because you doing reviews and having all these different things that you have to do. A lot of these, in my opinion, feel like incomplete reviews, because you haven't played the game to its completion, and someone coming to an article or something like that, looking for someone that's completed the game to give like their thorough thoughts on the game. You can't give, because, and you say you put the disclaimer in there, so that's good, kudos to you. But what I'm saying is, this is why I'm real big on, gamers take chances on games that you might not normally play, and your experience is what's most important. You get what I'm saying?
Oh, dude, I 100% agree with you. I've told people for years, do not take my review as gospel, because my opinion doesn't matter compared to your opinion. Again, and I'm seeing this as a reviewer, my reviews show up on Metacritic. Don't listen to fucking sites like that. Don't take my word for it. Don't take other people's word for it. Take your own word for it, because you're the only ones that could determine if a game is good or not. I tell people this shit, like again, it's on the record. I've been telling people this shit. Do not. Your opinion is more important than somebody else's. And I'm going to tell you a quick story, because this shit disturbed me, right? A couple of days ago, I forgot what the fuck it was, but it was about this topic, right? And some guy basically said like, this game is good because the majority of journalists gave it a high score. They're professionals, therefore their opinion is more important than ours. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you, dude? I'm literally a professional reviewer. I get paid for this shit. My opinion is not worth as much as your opinion. Your opinion is worth more than mine. Just like my own opinion is worth more to me than yours. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how you got to approach anything in life. You yourself and the way you think is the most important thing, not anybody else. So again, yes, I do review games. My shit shows up on Metacritic. That shit is irrelevant, right? Your fucking opinion matters the most, and I want people to take that away. Very important, because I feel a lot of people, they believe that their opinion is not as valid because a lot of people disagree with them, or because somebody else may be a professional. Fuck all that shit. It doesn't matter. Think about it like this, bro. I love the Order 1886, right? Everybody hates that game. I fucking love it. Their opinions don't matter to me. My opinion matters,
Yeah, but
everybody should approach
the thing
it,
is this though, man, and the thing is this though, and one of the words I use a lot is the integrity of gaming, right? And this is the thing, man. In this community where we're at now, there's a lot of people that have a lot of game media, journalists, companies, and all of that. they do their purchasing for them. And what I mean by that is they tell them what to buy, right? And you know,
That's not a job of journalists, by the way.
No, that's not
Yeah.
no, that's not the job of the journalist. What I'm saying is the reviews and things like that. Metacritic and reviews. You'd be surprised how much that stuff has either a positive or negative effect depending on the review and the score.
Oh, I know.
On
and
the sales, on
the
bonuses, on all these different things, right?
So I think
it's a big problem. So I think, you know, with the way the community is now and how heavily people rely on that stuff, because I'm sure, you know, I appreciate you for being honest and letting us know that, you know, that's what you do. But, you know, I wonder about the hundreds of thousands of other journalists that also do the same thing and, you know, aren't as accurate, aren't as thorough, aren't as upfront about completing these games or not completing these games and putting out reviews and review scores that might not be as good, but they didn't finish the game. So how can you really judge the game? You get what I'm saying? And that's why I said that's a dangerous
be putting stock in those people, bro. You shouldn't be putting stock in them. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with you.
And I'm going to say this right now, though, because even though I don't finish all the games I review, I do get to them, right? And I've never had an instance where I finish a game, I'm like, man, my review was off. It hasn't happened. Because again, once you play enough games, you get a sense for them, right? And like, okay, I'm comfortable now talking about this, and I've never been wrong yet. So all my reviews out there, you know, they're all legit. I've never been wrong. I've never had an instance where I'm like, damn, my review was fucked up. Because again, like, you know, if you're playing something like Tetris, 1 hour is all you need. You don't need to see the credits for that shit. A game like Uncharted, finish that shit. That's a short game. You know what I'm saying? The JRPG, if you don't have an opinion after 60 hours, there's something wrong with you, man. So
then I want to ask you this question.
Yeah.
How much time? Because you were very critical about a game that I love very dearly a while back. And so then I want to ask you here on the show, how much time did you put in Godfall?
Godfall, like what, like 10 hours or so? Like I did like this. Yeah, but I did like the first, because I know there's like 4 main worlds. I did half of them, the 2 of them. And after literally the first 2 hours, I already knew the whole game. The other 8 hours I put into it didn't change my mind whatsoever. Like the game didn't change at all. You know, like again, because I have a sixth sense for this shit. If you play enough games, you know if the game's good or bad, or not really good or bad. You know if a game fits your style or not. You know, so I'm like, yeah, it's not good. And then, you know, come to find out that I'm not alone in my opinion. Obviously, that doesn't really matter in the end, but the game didn't click with me. But I kept at it because, again,
the difference between
thoroughly, you know,
the difference between you and a lot of people that were shitting on Godfall, a lot of other people didn't play the game at all. Like,
yeah, no, that's wrong. You shouldn't do that.
And that's rampant through Twitter, where people are, you know, shitting on a game and they've never played it. I mean, Destiny's one of my favorite games of all time, right? You would be surprised how many people I have to shut down because they don't know what they're talking about when it comes to the game. And you know, because when you play the game so much, you could pick up on the bullshit right away. You ever play the game so much and then you hear somebody badmouth it and you think, oh yeah, this guy didn't play the game. Because what are you talking about? You get what I'm saying? So yeah, that's so I want to so because I had wrote some notes, right? So I have a segment. It's called Smoke Talk, right? Yeah. You know, you've had some wild takes on Twitter, Tony. Oh my God! But one of the ones that I actually want to talk about, I want to talk about Game Pass with you, and I'm glad that you're here because you know, you've been very vocal about how great or how good Game Pass is, and just recently, I think it was yesterday, you know, you had did a tweet talking about how PlayStation needs Game Pass, and I might be misquoting and correct me if I'm wrong. I had the tweet but I lost it. But you were saying that, you know, how PlayStation needs to have something like Game Pass, or Game Pass needs to come to PlayStation, or what the case may be. So you know, I guess the first question I want to ask is, you know, why do you love Game Pass so much?
I don't love Game Pass. I'm being objective about it. Game Pass, if you look at it, it's a great service, right? You get like 100 games, they're rotating and stuff. You know, I mean, it's not free, but you get them for $15 a month on top of everything. That's a great service, right? But here's the thing: a lot of people, because I could, you know how you said like, oh, you could tell who doesn't finish games. I could tell who doesn't listen to my podcast. I could tell right away. I've always said Game Pass on its surface, and again, this is all on the record. I'm not saying anything new here. It's a great service, right, for $15 a month. But the biggest problem with Game Pass is it has no fucking games people care about, right? Think about it like this: if Sony or Nintendo had a Game Pass, right, what would you get on their versions of Game Pass? You get Uncharted, you get Spider-Man, you get God of War, you get Horizon. That shit would blow the fuck up. What does Xbox have?
Wait, so are you talking about when you say if PlayStation had Game Pass? What's PS Now?
PS Now?
Because PS Now has 800 games.
But most of them are streaming. Most of them are streaming, though. That's the problem.
It's 800 games. I mean, tomato.
Yeah.
It's
and I'm glad you bring this up. Yeah, and I'm glad you bring this up because I think Sony needs to do full. Yeah, let me finish.
Yeah, go.
Sony needs to do a full relaunch of PS Now because you're right. It has the potential to be its Game Pass, but it isn't yet. What they need to do is combine it with PS Plus, make it one lump sum, right? Then that's it. Then it instantly has its own Game Pass, murders what Xbox has instantly. Because let's just be real here. And I know I'm playing to the crowd. These are PlayStation guys. Halo ain't been shit since like the fourth one, right? Gears of War, that shit fell off. Forza is there, but it's just a fucking racing whatever. Microsoft does not have compelling games, first-party games under its fucking cycle. They do not at all.
So,
you know,
and correct me if I'm wrong. So you want, so in terms of when you say revamp and add PS Plus and all that into PS Now and make it one thing, are you also saying that you would want PlayStation to also put their new titles day and date into the service?
That would be up to Sony. But the thing is, if it's a Sony thing, I don't see the problem with it. To be honest, that's actually a great incentive to get people on there. So yeah, you know what? Yeah. I would be okay with that.
So games day and date on the service. What does that do for people that's purchasing games though? Like, I mean, do you think the rate of games being bought? Because like, let's look at it now. PlayStation's titles tend to sell, but anywhere between, not all of them. Like, I'm gonna put that out there, not all, but you know, the God of Wars, the Spider-Man's, Last of Us goes, you know, those sell between 5 and 10 million plus. Yeah. Right. What would be the incentive for PlayStation to put those games into a service at a subsidized rate?
Yeah, no, there is no incentive right now. I said I wouldn't be against it, but I don't think Sony would do that because Microsoft's games ain't selling like that. So Game Pass is kind of helping them. At this point in time, Sony doesn't need to put their games day and date because Sony fans will buy them. But I still think a Game Pass type thing would be good for people who are new to PlayStation just to jump on board. Even though Sony's doing its thing with the PS Plus collection or whatever, that's a good thing, you know, and then they're giving out free games. That's good. So they're doing a little bit of it. So, but and overall, I think they need to combine PlayStation Now with PS Plus, right? You get a bunch of free, quote unquote, free games a month, not just the 4 or whatever you get. And I don't know how PSN now, because when I played PSN before, it was really very, very laggy, right? But I'm like, okay, say what you will about Stadia, it actually runs very well. So does GeForce Now, so does all these other stream things. If they could bring PS Now up to those standards, by the way, I could be talking out of my ass right now because I haven't played it in a while, so maybe they stepped it up, right? But if they could make the streaming on that level combined with PlayStation's superior fucking catalog, let's just be real here, it'll be a killing, you know. But you're right, at this point you're right, they probably do not need to put games on day one because, you know, they sell, they just sell, you know. I mean, but so it'll be a hybrid, because remember, the PlayStation community or ecosystem, I should say, very different than the Xbox one. Xbox is, you know, they're in last place, they got to do things to, you know, to catch up. Sony's not in that desperate situation, but I still think they need to set things in motion to ensure that their legacy continues, you know, with their old games specifically.
Okay, I think so. Then, you know, so then let me ask you this then. When you look at PlayStation Now, and then you also look at the PlayStation, so let's do PS5 and then PS Now, right? So when you look at PS Now, it's got the PS3 streaming, the games you can stream, which is a large library. Then the PS4 games are on there as well. But then if you also own a PS5, whatever PS4 games you bought on PlayStation 4, or even if you're new to PlayStation 5, if you buy PS Plus, you get the best, it's a curated combination of the best games to release last generation, right? Because let's be honest here, most people, a lot of things that, a lot of people are only going to really gravitate towards the biggest titles or what's the most popular, because that's what sells, that's what looks most appealing. Not not trying to shit on the smaller guys or the lesser known titles or whatever, but most people want to play God of War, Last of Us, Ghost of things like that. If those games are made available day one when you buy a PlayStation 5 and things like that, and then they're also releasing the banger titles on PlayStation 5 for PS5. I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like with PS Now, I feel like that's enough per se for right now.
I don't disagree with you, but I'm not gonna let this point go. PS Now needs to be combined with PS Plus. That's how you do it.
Now combined with PS Plus, is stay the same price or go up in price? Because that's the other question. If it gets combined, are you?
No. You have to keep it the same price because Xbox is $15. You can't be more than the competition. You got to be competitive. So I don't know how. I'm not a business guy. I don't know how much of a hit that would affect Sony. But I think $15 a month, you get PS Plus and PS Now combined. That'll be great because you're right. The problem with PlayStation backwards compatibility is the fucking PS3, man. Cell processor makes it very, very hard to emulate. So if you could have it streaming, and I'm seeing some guys in the chat are saying that PS Now it streams better. That's good. If it streams on the level of a Stadia or even xCloud, fantastic. Then you have your PS3 games on PS5.
To go back to your point of being competitive, even with the two separate services of PS Plus and PS Now, it's still more competitive than Game Pass Ultimate, which is $15 a month, what comes out to $180, as opposed to PS Now being $60, PlayStation Plus for a year being $60, coming out to $120. So even right now in its present form, you get more games, and the service is cheaper, and then you're still getting the bangers. So even if you have PS Plus, you also get those free games through the PlayStation Plus collection on top of what's in PS Now and all these other things, and the free games you've been getting every month with PlayStation Plus. I don't know, when you look at it through the optics of that, does that not seem like a better deal to you?
It does, and you know what Sony needs to do about that? Market the fucking thing better, because you're right. If you say, "Hey, this is actually cheaper than Game Pass," if you market it that way, that'd be fantastic. But Sony is not really doing that. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm not really seeing them pumping out PS Now the way Xbox is pumping out Game Pass.
But we do see them pumping out quality exclusive games.
Yeah, I know. No one's disagreeing with that.
That's
Sony
the
has
difference.
the best game. No, but here's the thing. Yes, I agree with you. But again, PS Now, it has so much potential, and I feel they're squandering it. Like, it could be so much more. No one's denying the fucking games. The games are fucking lit. They're the best games out there. Fuck Nintendo, fuck Microsoft. Sony has the games.
So for me and for the people in the chat, can you define for us what more would be? I know you said the day and date would be something you don't mind, but just so that we understand more clearly, what would be that something more that PlayStation needs to do or add in PS Now to make it, I guess, be able to compete with Game Pass or be fully realized as a quality service?
Make people understand, just like how you laid it out, that PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus combined costs you less a year than Game Pass. Make that very, very clear. Advertise it more. That's where the more part comes in. You advertise it more and let people really know, hey, you get PS Now, you get access to 800 games, right? Plus with PS Plus, you get these games, the newest shit, and just pump it out more and really showcase the strengths of it, which are the games, right? We all agree on that. And I think that'll be good. Basically what they need is, and I've said this the other day, actually, I tweeted, PS Now needs a rebranding and to be remarketed, because there's potential there that Sony could really be utilizing. But it just seems to me like they're not caring too much about it. Even though it's like, streaming, let's just be real here, man. I'm not saying in the next 10 years or so, but like 20 years from now, that's all games are going to be, I really see that happening. There's going to be like a PlayStation app on your TV or whatever, or hologram, whatever the fuck we're using in the future, So they already have the infrastructure there. Market it better, put it out there, and really show the people why this shit is better and cheaper for you in the long run.
Okay. This seems like I ain't trying to rag on Game Pass, but shout out to my boy Bari, man. Bari, he had a couple questions, and these are good questions here, so I'm gonna ask these and get your thoughts. You feel me? So then, to stick in the realm of Game Pass, does Game Pass give an excuse for Xbox not to have new first-party games a year into the Xbox Series X and S?
Absolutely not. I've been saying that shit. Here's the thing. I've always had an issue with the fact that PS5 has a bunch of games that are also on PS4, but those are still brand new games, right? What does Xbox have? The Xbox Series X, what did it launch with? Nothing. It didn't launch with shit. That's not an excuse whatsoever. None at all.
Okay. And then another question from the community is, what is your definition for having gaming credibility?
The hell does that mean? What is that? Like, because the thing is, like, okay. Actually, I don't understand the question. What the hell what do you mean by credit? Because I think credibility is like different to the person, right? Like the eye of the beholder. You know what I mean? Like, let me ask you, what do you define as gaming credibility?
Me?
Yeah.
Gaming credibility would be like, someone that's actually playing games, right? So, again, when you look at the community, there's a lot of people that talk about games. They talk gaming. They always talk about, the problems in gaming, all these different things. But then, when you want to check their trophies or achievements, let me do the run. Hold up, let me. They trying to skedaddle real quick, and get up out of there. So I think gaming credibility really has to do with showing your work, for lack of a better term. Meaning, are you actually playing games?
I never thought about this, but I've always ragged on people that hide their trophies. So I guess we're on the same page there. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, like these things are supposed to be public. Why are you hiding them? I don't hide I'm proud of my shits. 76 platinum. So,
but that's what I'm saying. If someone is hiding something, then that's cause for suspicion, in my opinion, because it's like, if you're in this community, you're interacting with all these different people. And you're always, you're in podcasts, and I'm speaking in general, I'm not speaking about you. You're in podcasts and you do all these different things, but then, when someone wants to see your trophies, you get real defensive. Oh, you're a weirdo. Why do you want to see my trophies? That doesn't matter. I feel like that stuff is that's how you lose credibility with gamers. That's how you lose credibility with your audience. Because, my audience here, I show my work. I have no problem showing my trophies. I have no problems talking about, the things I've played, the things I haven't played, things like I don't have any problems with that. And, I think a lot of people, they talk gamings, they're in podcasts, they're doing all these different things, but then when it's time to show your work, they can't show it. And I'm talking PlayStation people, Xbox, whoever. This isn't geared towards a specific group of people. This is towards the entire community. There's a lot of people here in this community that talk gaming. They say they're about gaming. They have all these grand opinions about gaming and how things should be. But then when it comes to actually playing the games, I got my kids, I got a wife, I got a job, I got this, I got that. But you have no problem being on a podcast for 3 hours.
Yeah. Why not spend that 3 hours playing a game?
You can still do the podcast, but are you gaming? That's the thing. Are you gaming?
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, they're not.
Yeah, no, I agree. That shit is like mad uncredible. That's not a real word, by the way, but that's not legit. You know what I'm saying? So I agree with you on that. That's a good, and I've never thought about it, but you're right about that. If you're talking about games all day on social media, you should probably play games.
Again, that's what I'm saying. You should probably be able to show your work playing games.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it real. The only times I've ever hidden my trophies is when the publisher asked me to when I'm reviewing a game that's not out yet. But the instant that embargo lifts, I'm like, yo, check out my motherfucking trophies. I'm so proud of you. You gotta understand, bro. Trophies are I love fucking trophies. They are the shit. I will spend 20 minutes on my podcast just talking about them, even if the fans don't care. I'm real about that shit. So having dudes hiding their shits, I'm like, chill, bro. That's not cool, man. So I'm definitely not about that life.
So another thing I want to ask you, and again, I'm glad you're here, Tony, man. I'm really happy you're here.
Yeah, brother, this is fun, man. I'm in the hot seat right now. You know.
Hey, listen, man, and I think you do, so I'm glad that you're
Oh
real
yeah,
cool
man.
about this. But it's all respect. It's no disrespect. It's all love at the end of the day. I want to ask you about Bethesda, because
Yeah.
you were one of the few people that were very vocal about, the Bethesda deal. And I don't want to say vocal, but I've seen, we definitely talked about how, but that, those games aren't coming to PlayStation, or these games shouldn't come, and things like that. And I'm one of the few people where I don't think these games should come either, because Microsoft owns Bethesda. So, it is ultimately up to Microsoft to be like, hey, look, no, these games aren't coming. But I just want to talk about the Bethesda deal for a second. Give me your thoughts on that whole transaction, and just, it's the community's reactions and things like that. Give me your thoughts on that stuff.
Yeah, that whole thing. And by the way, I agree with everything you said. It's like, yo, Microsoft paid for those games; those are theirs now. But that is the biggest thing I've seen in gaming since Sega left the manufacturing consoles. That was monumental. That was fucking huge. You had Microsoft buying literally one of the biggest gaming companies out there, right? I'm like, that's a power move. And and I've always joked about this, right? That's Microsoft using its biggest exclusive, money. So I think that was very smart of them to do that, right? But they're also taking a gamble too, and this is why, right? Bethesda, as of late, even though their games have been doing okay, they've been falling off sales wise, right? I know they have the Elder Scrolls or whatever. That's the online game that's been doing good. But we saw the whole fiasco with Fallout 76 and the latest Wolfenstein DLC. I forget the name of it. You guys in the chat can tell me. That didn't do very well. So they're a little bit on the decline, right? So that could be a little worrisome. And let's just be real here, right? Every time you've seen one of these big companies buy up another one, things just start out well at first, and then they go sour. Look what happened with Activision and Blizzard, right? When they bought Blizzard, they're like, yeah, we're gonna let them do their thing, and then slowly over time, they eroded them. I hope Microsoft doesn't make Bethesda do fucking avatars and shit like they had Rare do back in the day. You know what I'm saying? But on the face of it, it is good because, again, this goes back to Game Pass, right? Game Pass's biggest problem is that it doesn't have games that people care about, not on the level of Sony games and Nintendo games. Now they will have games people care about. Now they're going to have Elder Scrolls and Fallout and Wolfenstein and Doom, right? Those are big games. And I honestly believe that whatever games are coming out, that were in development before the deal, they're going to come out on PlayStation. And I also believe any future games that are online are also going to be on PlayStation and other platforms.
So you think Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 will be on PlayStation?
No. Starfield.
Those games were in development before the deal.
They were, but they weren't. The deal wasn't inked yet. Understand? Whatever deal. Actually, I should clarify that. Whatever games were in development and the deals were inked, right? Like Deathloop, right? Those games are obviously coming to play. That's a PlayStation exclusive, right? But like Starfield, and this is for the record. I've tweeted this out. I've said it on my podcast, and I'm saying it here. Starfield will be an Xbox exclusive, guaranteed. That's gonna be an exclusive, right? With Elder Scrolls, I keep changing my fucking mind about this because Microsoft keeps changing the words. At first I was like, yeah, it's possible to get on PlayStation, and then they said some other shit. I'm like, nah, it's gonna be exclusive. Now they're saying, oh, it's gonna be a case by case basis. So I'm like, I don't know, because the word they used lately was legacy. It's like any legacy games will remain. So I'm like, what the fuck does legacy mean? Does it mean the legacy of the individual game or the franchise? Because franchise and game are very different things, right? So Elder Scrolls has a legacy on PlayStation, so does Fallout, right? So does that mean those games will be exclusive, or did it just mean the legacy games that have come out before, right? So it's a little bit weird there, but any brand new IPs, I guarantee those are exclusive, because I fail to see how Microsoft paid $7.5 billion for this company to share their games with everyone,
Well, I'll say this, right? Look at Mojang. They paid $2 billion, and those games are still coming to PlayStation. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying I hope that they do this with Bethesda. I'm just saying when we look at the track record of what's been done in the past, and then again, with Fallout and with Elder Scrolls and things like that, where did they sell better? Where the most majority of their sales at? In terms of the console realm. right?
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Do you really think
I got something to say about that. Yeah, I got something to say about that.
Do you really think Microsoft would be willing to take that big of a loss monetarily, all for the sake of propping up Game Pass?
I think this is what I think happened. I'm glad. I'm glad I say all this shit. It's all on the record. Because the big gamble is that they want to have these games on Game Pass. Game Pass is the thing they really want to push, right? They want Game Pass to blow up for people on mobile to really jump in there. If Game Pass does well, very, very well because of this, those games ain't going nowhere. They're staying on Game Pass, Xbox exclusive. If the shit fails, and things start sinking, they got to make that money back. So I can definitely see them putting them on PlayStation.
Probably not right away, but
no, not right away,
like a year or so later, they might put them on there. So then let me ask you this question: do you think should PlayStation be worried about this deal?
No. They don't need to worry about that shit. Okay. Listen, man, like Bethesda, again, they have great games, but their games are not on the level of PlayStation games, man. Let's just be real here,
Yeah.
Sony has nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about.
I want to.
By the way, and just real quick before you go to the next question, because I've seen a lot of people like, what is Sony? And I've said again, I love the fact that I tweet this shit because I'm not hiding nothing, right? Unlike these other guys who hide trophies, right? I've said that, people ask like, oh, what is Sony going to do to counter this? What should they do to counter this? And I said, nothing. They're fine. Sony is perfectly fine. They're doing okay. They are the leader in the gaming industry. Obviously, things could change, right? But right now, they're good. They don't need to worry about shit. As long as they keep putting out bangers, they're straight.
I hear you on that. I want to switch gears for a second. I kind of want to play in the realm of preference and community, right? What is your thoughts on a preference? And I'll explain what I mean. Preference and fanboys or fanboyism, right? We know that there's certain fanboys of certain communities that can take things too far, right? And my sentiments has always been when it's outside of gaming, that's when I sign off. Where I'm like, all right, I don't want to be a part of that in terms of like the console war things or whatever. Like, cause it's all fun and games for me in terms of the jokes on PlayStation and Xbox or Nintendo or whatever, right? But I want to get your thoughts on preference, right? And what I mean by that is, so for me personally, I'm a PlayStation guy. I prefer PlayStation, right? I have no problems speaking to that. I prefer PlayStation, but I can also speak on PlayStation's L's, right? We know that there's people in the community, they try to come off as more so neutral, right? And, side note, I really don't believe anyone can really be neutral because everyone has a favorite something, right? But in terms of preference, one, do you have one? And two, what are your thoughts on people with a preference in gaming? Right. Because that's looked at as a negative. That's looked at as bad. That's looked at as, for lack of a better term, toxic or whatever the case may be. What are your thoughts on that?
First of all, there's a difference between fans and fanboys, right? Fans are people who like a specific product. They stick with it. It's like, hey, I like my Nikes. I'm sticking with Nikes, right? Shit like that. That's cool. Then there's the rabid guys that will just try to kill you if you say even a little negative thing, right? So I've always said fans are great. Fanboys on all sides, fucking idiots, right? So I'm not about like, bro, you can't be blinded to like, you shouldn't be loyal to a system. That system ain't loyal to you, you should be quote unquote loyal to the games, right? With that said, you already know my preference, man. You already know that shit. I don't hide that shit. 76 platinums, baby. PlayStation. I love the PlayStation ecosystem. I love the games, and I love what I've been able to do for all this time. Everybody has a preference, right? As far as the whole neutral thing goes, I don't like how people throw that out there like it's a bad thing or a negative, right? I think it's good to not try to be neutral, but try to see the good in the other side, right? If there is another side, try to see the good of it because every side has a good thing. But I will never believe that having a preference is a bad thing. Everybody has preferences, and you should have preference because that lets you know that you have your own independent thoughts. So there's absolutely no problem with preference. I have my own preferences. I just don't like it when people start attacking each other because of the differences of their preferences. That's stupid. Like back in the day, right? Because this whole console war shit, this ain't new. This has been going on forever, right?
It's not new. It's been going on since I was a kid.
Yeah, but back in the day, right? My friends and I, we would talk shit about each other's systems. Fuck Sega, fuck Genesis, fuck Super Nintendo, right? We'd talk all this shit, but what we do at the end of the day, we go to each other's house and play the system, so it didn't matter. We would talk shit, but we kept the game, right? But nowadays it's like, an Xbox guy, it's like his hands would melt if he touched the DualShock controller. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, you can't be thinking like that. Obviously, you have your preferences, but there's
this
good
is my
in
whole thing. This is my whole thing on the whole neutral thing, right?
Yeah.
I feel like people use the neutral excuse as a shield for them to be able to talk shit about a specific side they don't really care about, right? So, for example, and this is just an example, but so say I have a PlayStation, right? Also have a Nintendo Switch. I also have an Xbox, right? I'm very critical about the Switch and the PlayStation. I'm critical about PlayStation, Switch, and Xbox, but to somebody that has a preference of Xbox, they'll look at me and say, oh, well, you're more, why, you're a PlayStation fanboy or a Nintendo fanboy because you're more critical about Xbox over the other two. And then someone will use the fact that they're a neutral gamer as a shield for them to be able to criticize the side that they really don't like. You get what I'm saying when I say that?
Yeah. Yeah,
So they own all the platforms, but they secretly dislike PlayStation or Xbox the most. So they're super critical on that specific side, and then when someone calls them out on it, oh, well, I'm a neutral gamer. I got all systems. I play everything. Like, you see a lot of that in the community. What are your thoughts on that type of behavior?
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up because I've been accused of being a neutral. I'm doing air quotes right now. I'm a neutral gamer. They're like, "Oh, you only bought an Xbox, just shit on it," But I'm like, no, like Xbox was fucking up all last gen. I gotta call it out. You know what I'm saying? Just like right now, like there's some things that PlayStation doing that I'm not very happy about either. I call them all out. But I've never really thought about the whole like neutral thing because I don't think I think it's a stupid argument, to be honest. Like, who fucking cares? You know what I'm saying? Like what you like and don't worry about whatever. But like, I'm like, yo, if you own PlayStation, why are you caring what's on Xbox? If you're on Xbox, why the fuck are you caring about PlayStation? So, but you're right. Neutrality, nah, that doesn't exist. But I also don't think trying to see the good in every console is a bad thing either. There is a middle ground there, but everybody's gonna have preferences.
No,
sure.
There's definitely a middle ground. I say it all the time. So for me, my PlayStation, I love my PlayStation because it's got all these great games and things like that. And I love my X. I don't have the Series X or the S, but I have the old school OG Xbox One. I love my Xbox One because it's a great personal heater. So it's the best of both worlds. You get what I'm saying? So
man,
the people in the chat like that joke. They love that joke.
Oh no, they'll love what I have to say next, man. Yo, Xbox One is one of the worst buying thing. One of the worst purchases I've ever made. I played my 32X more than that shit. Because I don't know if you have a question about this, but once those games started coming to PC, I'm like, why the fuck am I playing them on Xbox? And I just stuck with PC.
I'm glad you brought that up, man. You took a peek at my notes.
Yeah,
I'm glad you brought that up because you know what question I'm gonna ask you. I have been very vocal about this for like 2 years now, about a year and a half, 2 years, right? And we see that PlayStation is slowly putting games on PC. First it was Horizon, now it's Days Gone, and from what Jim Wright said in his interview, it's going to be a slew, slate, whatever the hell. There's more to come, right? My whole thing is, I was vocal about this of how this doesn't need to happen because it's not diminish the value and the brand of PlayStation. I want to get your thoughts. Even though it's old games, because we know that's what some people are, well, it's old games. It's not that big a deal, Persona. So I want to get your thoughts here on the show live, because I feel like that's how it kind of started out with Xbox, where it's like, it was a title here and there. It wasn't nothing too serious, but then it blew up into what it is now, right? And my whole thing is, I feel that if I would rather be vocal about it now than wait till it's too late, right? So what are your thoughts on PlayStation putting their exclusives on PC?
Let me ask you a question. I'm going to answer it with a question.
Okay.
All right. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, right? Horizon Forbidden West comes out on PC and PlayStation day and date, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that prevent you from buying it on PlayStation?
In the moment, no. But what it will do is if that comes out day and date on PlayStation, then I know where I need to move, because then the PlayStation version isn't the best version anymore.
Yeah, but
what is the incentive to buy? What is the incentive to continue to buy on PlayStation?
What do you consider the best version? And I'm going to ask you this, right? Because PC gaming, it's a lot easier now, but there's still a lot of shit you have to deal with, right?
I mean, I'm an IT guy, so I thrive for that stuff. So that's nothing.
Okay, but think about it like this, right? You have Horizon Forbidden West on PC, and you have it on PlayStation 5, right? Most people are going to be more comfortable popping that game on to the PS5 and sitting in front of their couch chilling instead of being on their PC. You know, and I obviously and I'm in this situation too where I play my PC through my television, but I still have to go through all these steps. No matter what, even if these games come out day and day on PC, it is still far easier to play these games on a PlayStation. And let's just be real here, man. Most people who buy consoles are just casual people, man. They're not trying to deal with that shit. You know, so
define what you mean by casual, like casual people in terms of what?
Talking about these dudes that just buy Call of Duty and Madden all year. That's what I'm talking about. Those are the people that actually buy more consoles. But we are in a minority, believe it or not. We constitute probably 20-25% of the gaming community. You know, like the hardcore gaming community. Most people is buy a system and they're like, oh, Madden comes out this year, I'll buy it. Call of Duty comes out, I'll buy it. That's actually the majority of people who buy games. Why do you think if you look at people's trophies, only 25% of people complete games? Because most of them, they play a couple hours and they're done. You know, so that's what I meant by casual. But those people,
I get that, but even those casual,
will never buy a PC, bro.
But even those casual, but see, and this is the other side of that argument. Those casual people that only buy Madden or NFL, NBA, whatever on PlayStation or on consoles, period, they wouldn't buy that. Their purchase would Horizon Forbidden West wouldn't have to worry about getting a purchase from them, because all they buy is Madden, NBA, and COD.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So them buying Horizon wouldn't be in the equation of someone that could be considered a potential purchase.
Yeah,
so
no, you're right about that. But
what I'm trying to say is,
I'll counter with this though. Even among us, right, the PC gaming side of it is still not as big as like the console side.
Are you talking Among Us the game, or Among Us as in Among Us?
Not that one. You sus, bro.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking you talking about the game. All right, you talking about actually Among Us. Okay, go ahead.
Among Us, actual real gamers, right? Yes, I will call us that. Even who makes up the majority of like true hardcore gamers? It's console guys. Even if you remove Joe Blow, that's what I call the regular people, Joe Blow and shit. You remove them from the equation. It's the majority of people still game on consoles because it's simpler on consoles. You know, so that's why I don't. That's why I don't think people have to worry too much about the games being on PC.
Let me ask you this question then.
Yeah.
What draws you to PlayStation?
The games, the trophies.
No. Come on now, Tony.
What?
Come on now, Tony. You know the question I'm asking here. I'm asking again.
You gotta be more specific.
What
drew? Yeah, go ahead.
What drew you to PlayStation? How long? Because I'm assuming PlayStation has been your preference for a couple generations now, right?
Yes, since the PS2.
What drew you to PlayStation?
The games. We talked about this already, bro.
The games or the exclusive or the games that can only be played on their platform. And I'm not saying that you weren't playing, third party or other games too. What I'm saying is, what pulls you in? What pulls that person in?
Yeah, exclusives. I always said exclusives are very important.
So, and that's what I'm saying. I'm saying when PlayStation, because for me too, like I'm not gonna say the exclusives or the games that can only be played on PlayStation way back during the day. That is what pulled me in, and through the generations, that is what kept me as a PlayStation gamer, right? So when I'm looking at PlayStation now and seeing the itty bitty moves that they're doing to PC, and I hate to be an alarmist in this situation, but for conversational sake, to see games going to PC and then thinking that if every game goes, or in your example, if Horizon went, as a PlayStation preferred gamer, as someone that has rode with PlayStation for many years, seeing what made PlayStation special diminish and go away, that would bother me. That would be a problem because why continue buying the console? What made you special is now gone. It can be had elsewhere.
Yeah. I see what you're saying, but again, those games are not being taken away. They're still on PlayStation.
No, they're not being taken away, but what makes them special? And the games are great. The games will still get played 100%. What I'm saying is what makes PlayStation special goes away. And for me personally, that's a problem.
Interesting. I disagree with that. I think what makes the game special is the games, not the exclusivity. Exclusivity is a great thing, obviously. That's why you buy a console in the first place. But again, I don't see the issue. I'm like, if they're on PC, if they're on PlayStation, who cares? I personally don't have a problem with it. And think about it like this, and just going back to consoles being simpler, right? Last gen, right? My PC was way more powerful than my PS4. I still played on my PS4 because it was easier, it was better. So that's why I'm not really worried too much. Like the people who are going to buy games on PC, it's a small, not a super small area, because there's a lot of PC gamers, but the console gamers still constitute the vast majority of like the hardcore gaming community.
Let me ask you this question then. Do you own a Series X or S?
No.
Why?
Because there's no point buying them. Here's the thing, and I'm gonna explain why. Because
Tony, come on, man.
Can I finish or not, bro?
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I buy one or two Xbox exclusives a year. What's the point? I could just play on my PC. If there were like 10 fucking exclusives that Xbox released, then I'd buy an X.
Oh, Tony, come on, bro.
What do you want me to say, man? I'm keeping it real.
I love it.
Yeah, I thought I'm supposed to keep it honest here. Xbox does not have that. Xbox does not have enough games for me to, in its library for me to warrant it.
Do you have a PC?
Of course I do. I write for a living, bro. Of course I have a PC.
So, and I'm assuming you game on the PC, right? Like you've played games on there. So if there were 10 exclusives coming out on Xbox, but they would still also be there on PC, you would still buy an Xbox?
A Series X? Yeah, I would. Yeah, because it's easier. Really? Because there's even gaming on PC, it's a lot of hurdles, man. It's easier to play on a console.
Okay. All right.
Think about it. That's
crazy. I hear you, though, bro.
Yeah. Like, dude, think about it. There's PC games that are out now that I'm still playing on my PlayStation because it's just simpler. You know?
I get you. One more, two more questions. I wanted to get your thoughts on $70 games, man.
Yeah, $70. Ooh, the hot button topic right there.
The hot button. What's your thoughts on $7 games, man?
Yeah, I've said this before too. Games should have been $70 last gen, to be honest, just because think about it, games have been $60 for like 20 years now almost. I'm like, yo, that's unheard of. Think about it. Everything in your life has gone up, right? So it's kind of weird how games haven't gone up in price, right? But with that said, you could make a very, very strong argument that games actually cost more than $70 if you add in DLCs and expansions and all this other stuff, right? So I personally wouldn't have a problem with $70 games, but at the same time, just being real, those games better be worth $70 fucking dollars. You know what I'm saying?
Well, see, that's the thing, Tony. No, finish your thought. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that was it. Like, for example, and I know I'm prejudging the game wrong. I could be very, very wrong about this, but I'm seeing Returnal. I'm like, that don't look like no $70 game to me, bro.
Come on. Okay, I want to explore that. Let's explore that.
Yeah.
What about Returnal what about Returnal does not look $70 to you?
Yeah, to me, I remember we're saying to me.
Yeah, no, your opinion. No. This is your opinion. I'm not generalizing it. I'm genuinely curious.
Even though I give them respect and I play them, obviously, I'm not a big indie guy like that. They're very kind of short, kind of underwhelming games. I like my big AAA experiences that Sony gives me, for example, right? So that game, that's a game that I would actually Returnal. The real big issue I have with it, it's not even the price. It's like it's a fucking roguelike game. I'm like, I do not like those whatsoever. So to me, that's why I wouldn't want to pay $70 for that. If somebody else wants to pay for it, sure, that's fine. But me personally, I'm like, that doesn't look like it. Something like a fucking Witcher, I'm like, yeah, that's worth it. That has a lot of shit, and it's my type of game. An Assassin's Creed, an Uncharted, Last of Us. To me personally, I could justify that. But a game like Returnal, indie game, I couldn't do it, man.
Okay. I want to explore it a little bit more, just a little bit. So, with Housemarque, are you familiar with the games they've made in the past?
Yeah,
like
Resogun,
Superstar, all that stuff. Now, this is my case. I'm gonna plead to you. When you look at the track record in the past of what
Housemarque, this is to convince me to buy the game.
No. It's a question. It's not case wise. It's a question. When you look at the track record of what Housemarque has done in the past, right? How it looks aesthetically, all that different stuff, and then you fast forward to now, and you look at Returnal, and what Returnal is doing. This is although they're not owned by Sony and they may be indie or whatever. This isn't an indie level project. This is definitely a AAA quality game, and you can see Housemarque really trying to level up as a development studio with what they're trying to do, because this is a full-fledged cohesive story. It's the way it looks, the things that they're putting into the game, the tech, the frames, all that different stuff, the different enemies, the weapons, the environments and things like that. Seeing all that stuff and looking at where they came from, you don't think that within itself is enough to say, you know what, damn, they stepped up. And again, I know you don't like roguelikes, but let's take that out the equation for a second. Just looking at the way they leveled up as a development team based off the track record in the past and what we're getting now, do you think that wouldn't be enough to be like, damn, this looks cool, and they really are trying to level up? That's you could take my money. You don't think that's worth it?
Yeah, I think for some people it totally would be, and I give those guys mad props for stepping it up. But I'm just saying, for me personally, I don't fuck with roguelikes, so I don't care.
Got you. Cool. I respect that. I respect it. Last question, and I asked this question to all my guests that come through for the Winters on the interview show. Imagine you standing in front of the gaming community, millions and millions of billions of people, gamers that are out there, right? You're standing in front of the gaming community. What would you say to them?
Ooh, this is a good one. Again, and this is probably because I just see it all the time, right? I would say, don't let other people's opinions make you feel bad about your own, right? Your opinion is what matters the most, right? If you enjoy a game that people don't care about, that's not something you should be ashamed of. Be proud of what you like, and let other people know, because you will find others that are like-minded, And I would also say, even though it's fun to debate over which consoles are better, which games are better, don't take that shit too seriously, because at the end of the day, it's really all about, the games and the gaming community, and we should all stick together. There's a lot of forces out there that are trying to destroy us, right? Gaming. So it's better if we stand united and not let all these people try to tear us apart, because we're the ones that are our biggest enemies at the end of the day. So, if we stick together and also be very vocal about what we want, and this is one of the things I love about the PlayStation community, right? Because it seems to me that the Xbox community, and I'm not trying to shit on nobody, I'm just keeping it real. It seems to me like the Xbox community will just take whatever Microsoft gives them with no questions. Sony guys will push back because they want the best. I do it too, because PlayStation is the best. I want them to do the best. So be vocal about what you want in gaming. Respectful, obviously. You don't want to be doing death threats or any of that bullshit.
Yeah, none of that.
Yeah, obviously. Make your voice heard. Gather with your gamers. Then obviously, when the Rona ends, please gather together in actual real community, like venues and shit. Talk about games or experiences, because at the end of the day, gaming is about being together and having fun and just making life that much better. So that's what I would say to the gaming community.
Man, that's pretty good. That's one of the better ones too. A lot of people they say a lot of different things. I like your answer. That's really dope. That's really good, man. Listen, Tony, I want to thank you, man. Thank you for coming through, man. Thank you for being a good sport. Thank you for the great stories about your career and how you got there, and the life coming from DR into New York and things like that, man. Give us your outro, man, and let the people know where they can find you and what you got going on your side of content creation.
Yeah. Before I do that, obviously, I want to give you a big shout out, for asking me on, for the, even though sometimes we don't agree, I really respect your opinions. I feel they're very well thought out. And I really love this platform where it's just you and the guests just talking, being mad honest and open. Love this shit. This is the type of shit I'm talking about, man. Like, we need more of this. Like, if you are really vocal about gaming, you love gaming, go out there, do your own podcast, do your blog, do your thing, man. And I think you people like you do a great service to the community, because like you said, there's a lot of fake dudes out there. You keep it 100% real, man, and I respect that. So I obviously want to thank you, and I want to give a shout out to the fans in the chat right now who've been with us this whole time. Even the guys talking shit, it's all good, logical nonsense. My man's been grilling my ass the whole night.
Yeah. And I call them. I don't call my supporters. I call them supporters, not fans. I don't know. I just feel like fans.
Yeah, supporters. Yeah, that's fair.
A little demeaning.
Yeah.
So,
My thing, I call them fans because I don't because some people read my shit, some people watch my shit. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what it is, but I think supporters is good, followers is good too. Yeah, but in logical sense, you cool, bro. You good. Jay Barry, that's my man right there. You already know. He says he got his eyes on me. Jay, man, I keep it real though, brother. I got to be critical when I have to, man. But I also give praise. But Jay, that's my motherfucking dude right there. Shout out to the PlayStation Nation as well. I know I ruffle your feathers sometimes, but I'm one of you guys, so it's all good.
Hey, man, your takes be wild sometimes, Tony, man. But you definitely a cool dude, man, and I definitely like your thoughts, man. Because some of the stuff you even make me think, like, maybe you got a point there.
As for you, where you can find me on the Twitters at Romudeth. That's ROMUDETH, and in my bio you're gonna see all the places I write for. I write for PC Mag and Laptop Mag, sometimes Tom's Guide, and I also host the Third Down Show podcast every Thursday and Sunday nights at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Thursday is when we cover all the gaming news of that week, and Sunday is when we answer fan questions. And the fans never run out of questions, which is fucking beautiful, man. So hit me up on Twitter, and as long as you're respectful, I will have a conversation with you. Everybody else gets muted, so that's that. Persona, once again, man, thanks so much, man. This is a lot of fun, man. I love being in the hot seat, man, and I can take it, man. I'm from New York, man. It's fucking dude,
definitely. Hey, man, talk to your boy Paris, man. Tell him come through.
Yeah, I'll do that, man. I'll let him know for sure, man.
But listen, man, like I said, Tony, thank you so much for coming through, man. I really appreciate it. Really great having you on. Really great hearing your thoughts on different things in the gaming community and gaming topics. And like I said, for those that watch this, watch my content, I'm all about having a conversation, right? Even with people that you disagree with, right? I like having those types of conversations more than people that I agree with, because I feel like it makes for a better conversation. So I love that, although your preference is PlayStation, we don't think the same, and I love it. That's what gaming is about. That's what the community is about. I love it, man. And thank you. And with everybody in the chat, man, to all my supporters, to anybody new that might have came through, I really appreciate all of you guys for coming through, man. Thank you so much. Round of applause for everybody in the chat. Appreciate y'all. Listen, man, this was Win Persona Interviews number 12. I'm going to put a post up on Twitter asking you guys who else you want me to get on here. I got a couple of people I'm betting right now, trying to see if they'll come through. But let me know on Twitter. And thank you guys so much. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Share the stream out if you enjoyed it. And yeah, man, I hope you guys enjoyed. Have a great night. Please be safe. And I'll see you guys on Saturday morning. What's Up PlayStation podcast with myself and Bari. And we out, man. Peace.